If love could wait forever, I guess I proved it could. My name is Rex. They called me the soldier's dog. But no one knew what it meant to carry a promise until they watched me try. The morning began gray and wet. Rain tapped against the tin roof of the shelter like a heartbeat I could feel in my bones. I had stopped barking weeks ago. Why bother? No one noticed me. A scarred ear, tired eyes, mud-streaked fur. I was invisible, just another dog on the list. But that morning, he came. I heard the sound first. Boots hitting the wet floor, heavy, deliberate, echoing in the quiet. The smell followed. Rain-soaked earth, oil, something I would learn to recognize as home. He walked past every cage. Some dogs barked, others whimpered. I watched him, not daring to hope. Then he stopped. "You look like you've seen a battle too," he whispered. I wagged my tail once, tentatively, slowly. And for the first time in years, someone looked at me, not past me. He knelt down. I stepped closer, one paw, then another. His hand was warm on my head. He smelled like sun, sand, and the faint trace of leather. I didn't know it yet, but I would learn to recognize it in every memory of him. He scribbled something on papers, his eyes never leaving mine. "Come on, soldier. Let's go home." That was the first time I felt my name, Rex. The ride home was a blur of rain, mud, and smells I had never noticed before. Every passing field, every puddle, I felt a strange excitement. Something told me my life was about to change. Home was quiet. Too quiet. No other voices, no laughter. Just him. He moved around the small living room, unpacking a bag, and I followed like a shadow, my paws barely making a sound. He spoke of faraway places I couldn't imagine. Deserts that burned gold in the sun. Brothers who never came back. Nights where the wind howled like 1,000 lost souls. I rested my head on his knee. Sometimes he would pause mid-sentence, staring at nothing, breathing heavy. "You're my calm, Rex. Don't ever change." I didn't know what it meant to belong. But I did now. Days passed like golden hours. We ran by the river, chasing the wind, chasing shadows. The sun painted our world in amber light, and sometimes, I swear, we laughed. Evenings were my favorite. I curled up by his boots, their smell a comfort. I dreamed only of him, and I slept without fear. Time gave me little lessons. I learned when he was restless. I learned when the world outside was harsh, and he needed me to be steady. One evening, I nudged his hand. He sighed, looked down at me. "You're my soldier too, Rex. Don't let me down." I didn't understand the weight of his words yet, but I knew I would try. The world outside didn't stop being harsh. There were nights when the wind screamed, when the rain fell like knives, and I would huddle by the door, alert, listening. And he would be there. Always. Weeks passed. Small moments built our bond, sharing warmth by the fire. Running through autumn leaves that fell like golden snow. Watching the river glow as the sun set. Painting the sky with colors I had never imagined. We had routines, morning walks, evening waits at the gate, nights by the boots. And in these routines, I found a strange kind of happiness. Small, tender, enough. Then came the first shadow of change. He would pause mid-sentence more often. His eyes would cloud over with memories of things he never told me. Sometimes he would stand by the window, staring down the empty street, as though he were waiting for someone who would never come. I stayed by his side, paw on his knee, heart matching his silent rhythm. "Don't ever leave me, Rex," he whispered one night, though he didn't say it to me. I pressed my nose to his hand. I would never leave. I didn't know it yet, but a promise was forming, one that I would hold tighter than life itself. The morning was colder than usual. Mist clung to the ground, and the air smelled of damp earth and fading autumn leaves. He moved around the room quietly, packing his uniform with deliberate care. Each fold of cloth, each buckle seemed like a tiny goodbye. I stayed close, my paws barely making a sound on the wooden floor. My ears twitched at every movement, every small sound. "You can't come this time, boy. I wish you could." He looked down at me then. A faint smile flickered across his face, fragile, almost painful. I nudged his leg, wagged my tail softly, trying to tell him, "I'll follow you anywhere." But he shook his head. "No, Rex. Not this time. But I'll come back. I promise." He knelt, arms wrapping around me, face buried in my fur. I pressed close, soaking in every second, every heartbeat. I didn't understand then what a promise meant. I only understood that it carried weight heavier than the world. The truck's engine rumbled to life. Dust rose in waves, swirling around the driveway. I ran alongside it at first, paws slipping on gravel, heart pounding. Then I stopped and waited. The first day without him felt like a dream. I wandered the empty yard, sniffing for any trace of his scent. Nothing. I lay by the oak tree, our favorite place by the river, and waited for him to return. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. A neighbor brought scraps of food, kind words, soft pats on my head. But none of them smelled like him. None of them carried his warmth. I kept my vigil. Every shadow along the road, every passing uniform, every truck that rumbled through the town, my heart leapt with hope. But it was never him. The seasons changed. Winter arrived. Snow blanketed the yard, covering every paw print, every mark of my waiting. I learned to push my paws through the cold, digging through layers of ice and snow, searching for traces of him. The river froze over, but I stayed by the oak tree. I didn't care about hunger. I didn't care about cold. All that mattered was the promise he had made. "I'll come back." I replayed his words in my mind every day. Sometimes, in dreams, I heard his voice calling my name. I would wake, tail wagging, heart pounding, only to find the road empty, the sky gray, and the silence unbearable. Spring came slowly. The snow melted. The river ran free again, glistening in sunlight. I stayed in my post by the oak tree, watching every passerby with suspicion. Children laughed and played nearby, calling me the waiting dog. Some offered food, some threw sticks. I sniffed, accepted scraps, but my eyes always returned to the road, to the horizon, to him. Days merged into years. I grew older. Gray streaked through my fur. My legs weakened, but my heart my heart still waited. I remembered every morning by the river, every night curled by his boots, every whispered word, every pat of his hand. Don't ever leave me, Rex. You're my calm. Don't ever change. And I didn't. Then one day, it happened. A black car pulled up slowly. 2 soldiers stepped out. Their faces were heavy with sorrow. One held his hat in hand. The other knelt slightly, avoiding my eyes. He didn't make it back, boy. He was brave till the end. The words hit like a thunderclap. The world blurred, sound disappeared. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. I howled not in anger, not in fear, but in disbelief. He promised. He said he'd come back. And yet, he never did. The days that followed were quieter, heavier. I still sat by the oak tree. I still sniffed the wind for his scent. I still whispered my promise. I'll wait. Always. People noticed me. They whispered about the dog that waited for years. He's loyal, they said. Unbelievably faithful, they said. But no words could fill the emptiness of the road that led away from me. No scraps of food could replace the warmth of his hand, the sound of his voice, the smell of his uniform. I grew slower, older, weaker. Yet I never moved from the oak tree. I never stopped waiting. Sometimes at night I dreamed of him. I saw his smile, felt his hand on my head, heard the gentle sound of his voice. I woke, tail wagging, heart hopeful, only to face the empty road again. Winter returned. The river froze over. Snow covered my tracks. Yet I stayed. I promised. I will wait. And wait I did. Years passed. I was older now. My fur grayed, my legs were weak. But the promise never left my heart. I whispered every night, "You'll come back. You have to." And I waited. Years had passed. The oak tree had grown thick and strong, its roots deep in the earth, leaves whispering in the wind like a secret only I could understand. My fur had turned gray. My legs were weaker. But my heart had never stopped waiting. I remembered him in fragments, like a dream I never wanted to forget. The warmth of his hand on my head, the smell of his uniform, the soft sound of his voice calling my name. Every morning, every night, I repeated my silent promise. You'll come back. You have to. I wasn't alone. The town knew me now. Children laughed as they passed, sometimes tossing me scraps of food or a gentle pat. The waiting dog, they called me. I didn't need their names. I already had one, his. The years had been long, filled with longing and quiet endurance. I'd watched seasons change, snow covering the ground in winter, spring melting it away, golden leaves drifting in autumn winds. Through it all, I waited. Every day, I would take my place by the oak tree. My paws pressed into the soil where we had once run together. I sniffed the air for his scent, listened for the rhythm of boots on gravel. And every night, under the stars, I whispered, "Come back. You have to." The river still flowed nearby, glinting in the sunlight like silver threads. It had been our place of joy, our sanctuary. I would lie there sometimes, weak now, remembering the warmth of golden hours we had shared, remembering the first time he called me Rex. Then one evening, as the sky bled orange and pink over the horizon, the wind carried a familiar sound. Boots. Slow. Heavy. Certain. My ears perked. My heart skipped beats I hadn't felt in years. I lifted my head, fur ruffled, eyes wide. Could it be? I forced myself to stand, legs trembling, breath shallow. And then I saw him. Not older, not younger. Just him. The man I had waited for all my life stood at the edge of the oak grove, silhouetted against the golden sunset. His uniform familiar, yet worn by time. He knelt slowly, reaching out toward me. "Hey, soldier," he whispered, voice trembling. "You waited for me." I tried to bark, tried to run, tried to leap into his arms, but my body betrayed me. My legs were weak. My voice barely came. He smiled, tears glistening in his eyes. "You kept your promise. Now it's my turn." He touched my head. Warmth flooded me like sunlight through a winter cloud. Pain I had carried for years dissolved. Every lonely day, every snowstorm, every moment by the oak tree, all of it melted away. The world seemed to pause. Golden light filtered through the leaves, casting long shadows. The wind whispered gently, carrying the scent of river water and wet earth. I felt alive again, every fiber of me remembering who I was. We stayed there for what felt like forever. I leaned into him, pressing my head against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. For the first time in years, I felt whole. Then slowly I rose. We walked together toward the river, my steps unsteady, but my heart strong. He stayed by my side, hands occasionally brushing my fur, whispering words I could almost remember from long ago. "Come on, Rex. Let's go home." The golden light bathed us. The river glimmered. Birds called from the trees. It was a new beginning, yet timeless, as if every second of waiting had been a step toward this moment. I ran ahead, legs powerful again, wind in my fur, freedom in my heart. He watched me, arms open, smiling through tears. The river stretched before us like a path to forever. I returned to him, as always, as I had promised. "Come on, soldier," I seemed to whisper. "Let's go home." We walked together under the golden sky, the world serene and weightless. For the first time in a lifetime, everything felt right.